fine summer, a wonderful summer of clear skies and scattered, harmless clouds in the boundless blue, gave most of us a tremendous sense of freedom. What a change from last year. And for those few, the elite who could afford to put a plane to its paces high above the holiday scene, that very sense of freedom might almost at times seem to have gone to their heads. For some 700 men throughout the country, the skill that's needed to fly the more sophisticated model planes comes close to handling the real things, and creatively it's often far more satisfying. There are 31 official aeromodelling clubs in New Zealand. Wanganui's was one of the first, founded like Auckland's in the early 1930s. Because enthusiasm's catching, it's often a family affair. And this club room, like several others, is in the basement of one of the members' homes. With radio-controlled flight, the models these days have come a long way from simple balsa chuck gliders and rubber-driven duration models, although there's still a place for these in the various competitive classes. Building and fitting out a radio-controlled plane is a complex job, and Mike Kendrick, president of the Wanganui Club, has been one of the country's leading modelers for several years now. The tiny receiver, servos and circuitry alone would baffle most beginners. But in a club, there are always experts ready to help and give advice to the younger members when it's needed. Mike Kendrick's wife and son are both keen modelers, Mrs. Kendrick having discovered long ago that if you can't beat him, the only alternative is to join them. There are, of course, thousands of boys and model plane enthusiasts who don't belong to clubs, who build the odd one or two planes and then go on to something else. The clubs tend to be for those who found a more lasting fascination in the hobby, from the discussion of detailed plans through the stages of building and assembly to prospects at national and even international competition. During the year, meets are held at long weekends by the Auckland, Central and South Island associations, with the nationals held last Christmas at Kaiapoi near Christchurch. Tom and Jocelyn Williams are another husband and wife team. Jocelyn, like Mrs. Kendrick, having been won over after the usual frustrations of trying to do the housework and cooking among bits and pieces of model planes and amid the pungent odours of aircraft dough, glue and fuel. For the club wives, it's a welcome change and a chance to share a real enthusiasm. Just as winter's the ideal time for the club room and making and planning, so the summer days are ideal for testing and flying. Fuel tanks are filled and controls tested. The air is loud with angry-sounding revving engines and snatches of intriguing jargon to the outsider, problems of trim and frequencies, multis, polyhedrals and dethermalizers. Engines can be temperamental. Flood one and you face long minutes of coaxing. Remote controls are carefully checked. Mike Kendrick, who holds a conventional pilot's license as well, has built more than 40 radio-controlled models in the last 5 years. The controls are virtually the same as for full-size planes, and some models even have brakes and steering front wheel on the undercarriage. Where the models are flown from airfields, clearance is needed from the control tower before takeoff. On this occasion, the controller, Tom Fox, had to give special permission for a race between Mike Kendrick's model and a piloted Piper aircraft flying at 70 miles an hour. The race is thought to be the first time in the world a radio-controlled model has been paced alongside a conventional plane, passing clear ahead of it now. Back comes the model, alone this time, and demonstrating its astonishing versatility. At rallies, 5 and more planes can be flown simultaneously on different frequencies without interference. They can tumble and twist in the sky under complete control through the wildest aerobatics. Each club in the country is affiliated to a national council, which in turn belongs to the International Aeronautical Federation. Rules and safety precautions are strict, and need to be, with models so advanced they look and perform like the real thing, with only the difference in size. It's no wonder the sport claims a steadily growing number of enthusiasts round and above New Zealand.